watching the movie Sweetheart, of course, I'm scratching my head as to what exactly is the monster. Now let's take a stab at trying to explain this. I'm just an observer and I may be wrong, but I'm going to try. Let's talk about what we know about the creature so far. We know that it hunts at night. It possesses a humanoid body structure. It can walk on land and swim even better in the water. Based on its skeletal structure, it seems pretty capable of doing so. It has 2 sets of eyes on the front of its face. Sometimes it kills things and just doesn't eat them, almost like it wastes its food. Judging from the claw marks and what was left behind by humans before and other humans who had disappeared or died in weird ways before, this creature frequents this island. Either this is part of its home, or it frequents this island because its hole that it comes out of is right beside it. It has a fantastic sense of smell. Also, the hole it comes out from looks pretty large and very, very deep, almost like it cuts into the middle of the earth. And you can just see the sand and the floor bed just falling into it. Now, let's go into the questions that I obviously have about this monster. Why does it have a human figure? Why does it only come out at night? Why does it immediately attack and kill some prey, but just drags others while they're still alive back down into the hole inside the ocean? Why did it come out in the daytime near the end of the movie? Why is it like a freaking Pokemon? What are its motivations? How did the heroine kill it so easily in the end? Why does the creature bleed black blood? Alright, so I'm gonna try. When they were designing this creature, they did try to make it make sense as per the design. The only thing that doesn't make sense to me is the humanoid form that the creature has. Like, really, if something were gonna come from the ocean and also adapt to walk on land as well, chances are it wouldn't look human. So, with that being said, let's talk about this. Let's attempt to answer the first question. Why does this creature have a humanoid figure? And what I mean by that is, why does it totally walk upright like a human and have almost the same body proportions to a human being? Well, to understand that, we need to comprehend why humans started walking upright and why we look the way we do. Of course, our very old ancestors didn't always look like this. As a matter of fact, we came from the trees. It is said that cutting-edge research is now providing fresh clues as to what may have driven the change for us to walk from 4 legs to 2. Chris Stringer, leading anthropologist at the Natural History Museum in London, said, "Walking upright freed the hands for carrying and manipulating tools. It allows for longer distance walking and eventually endurance running. Ultimately, it may have been a key step that led to our ancestors' brain to grow. The only reason that animals like us that had 4 legs would evolve to walk on 2 legs is so we could free up our hands to be used. From an evolutionary point of view, it is more advantageous for land animals to have 4 legs. It's honestly just easier to get away and to cover terrain. The only other 2-legged animals that are strictly bipedal on land are large running birds that have lost their ability to fly, yet still have some remnant of their wings. And even still, their center of gravity is different and they can run far faster than a human can, and even faster than some 4-legged animals. Our bodies didn't evolve to necessarily run faster, obviously. They evolved to learn how to use tools so that they can stay in place and have a good defense, or even to walk across long distances for longer periods of time. Like meerkats, we stood up tall to see over the long grass and relied heavily on sight. However, there is a theory that humans were already quite bipedal even before they got down from the trees. Similar to how orangutans travel arboreally, humans were walking on their 2 legs and using their hands to grasp branches above them for easier stabilization. Honestly, the theory of us being able to use tools and sexual selection reflecting that by females choosing males who could more aptly utilize tools because they could stand up longer, that makes more sense. The entire point of the spiel, no matter what the theory, is that humans adapted to life on 2 legs to free up their 2 arms to do other things, from hunting and defending themselves to building and being able to carry large sources of food and resources. Since this creature from the movie Sweetheart is mainly aquatic, it would have to mean that it was once human and in only recent times evolved and adapted for life in the water. We never see it use tools, and it does have hands totally capable of gripping its prey and gripping things. Maybe over the years the creature would lose certain features and it would look less human, but I think it was human first. No aquatic creature or other animal is going to evolve into that unless it had a human or primate ancestor. So then what does this mean? Well, we know the creature came from a hole deep within the earth, which I guess if you really wanted to have some fun, you could suggest this creature came from the hollow earth. and that's where things get a little bit more crazy. You see, over many different works of media, the Hollow Earth suggests that there is a whole other plane of existence within the Earth. The Earth is not just one solid mass across the board, but it has interior pockets of space. It's not just solid and liquid, I mean. There's pockets of space that probably harbor life, or where that life evolved quite differently over time since it has been separated from the rest of the Earth that we know of on the surface. The monster from Sweetheart has been frequenting this island for many decades, probably. So here's what I think. I think the monster, which they nicknamed Charlie on set, is a mermaid. Sorta. I think it's the evolutionary result of the people from the lost city of Atlantis or Lemuria, or something similar to that. And the New Age concepts tell us that mermaids came from lost civilizations like Lemuria and Atlantis. Although what I propose is slightly different, because, you know, there's many different interpretations of it. You see, the story mentions that in the civilization, this ancient civilization, these beings were very human-like, but they had slightly different DNA. They had the ability to shapeshift and breathe underwater. Many people even liken those people, the residents of Atlantis, onto half human and half gods. Let's suppose that Atlantis was really a place and people lived there for some reason. It's not too hard to believe that a place such as this could exist since humans have found their way all over the globe over time. Being cut off from other civilizations and societies, this homogeneous society would evolve into a completely different species. An earthquake caused Atlantis to sink, and I imagine that Atlantis didn't sink all in one day. I mean, there's different interpretations, as I've said. Some it sank in one day, you know, but most of them I do hear of it sinking in one day. It's just this catastrophe, it just happens, the whole thing just sinks. But I think that it would have been a gradual process, and these people would realize that they're losing their land. It is possible that the residents of Atlantis were already a very aquatic society, but as time went on, due to the environmental pressures, and then losing their island, or their city, or whatever you want to call it, they adapted to survive in the water. See, I didn't say water that time. Not that hard to believe, right, when you consider what's happening to California, and why many argue that it is in fact sinking. It all has to do with the speed at which the California sea level is rising, and more. So this could very much have been the case for the people of Atlantis. Either that, or they were already very different than humans altogether, but they just adapted to have the same body structure because they fill the same niche, with being able to use tools to build shelters in the water so they could survive. They're sinking into Atlantis. Look, that's the best I got. And I could be wrong, but it's a theory. Of course, for the movie, it probably just boils down to it being easier to shoot someone wearing a suit. But let's move on to why it comes out at night. This creature probably lived in the dark or the dark depths for quite a while. It obviously kept its vision because it can go up on land when it needs to, and of course it can see better in the dark. The reason why it comes out at night is probably because the sun is too harsh on its skin. As you can see, the creature doesn't seem to have melanin. The reason why creatures that live mostly in dark areas all their life are sensitive to light or don't have any pigment is because they simply need no protection from the sun's rays or camouflage to hide them from predators because they're not in the sun, and they didn't evolve to be in the sun like we did. And they evolved in environments where you obviously don't need to see. That's why the creature looks like that, and that's why it is active during the night when it comes up on land. That's also probably why in the movie, when there was a lot of fire around, the creature almost acted as though it were blind, and having quite the tough time fighting the puny human. Okay, so if this is the case, then why did it put itself at such a disadvantage by making itself known in the daytime? Specifically near the end of the movie when the guy was like, I thought
you said it wouldn't come out during...
What happened there? No consistency, if I do say so myself. Well, I have an answer for that too. Simply put, there was no sun. Notice how the character took note of how overcast it was when they were about to make their getaway, to the point where it seemed very dark. It's not that the monster can't come out at all during the day, it just can't be in the sun. And even though it didn't go on land, this overcast weather still granted the opportunity to travel around and stick around in the shallow ends of the surface of the water. So the other question is, why did it kill some people and then not others? Well, earlier on we saw that it ate some of the people, and then we also saw that the skeletons show that these people died, possibly because they were attacked. One had a big gash in his skull, and the other bodies, I don't know, it's kind of unsure, but it could be that the creature dragged his kill back down to the hole because he knew that there was another presence on the island, and that would probably compete for the food. Or he ate enough, and he's just dragging it back to preserve it. If he's not really full and he knows that humans are not something that happen upon this island a lot, it's probably like a delicacy, he's gonna keep those humans as fresh as possible. Or for all you know, like I said, he's probably bringing it back down for his family because you don't think he's the only one, do you? And like I said, as for the people that had graves, it suggested that somebody dug those graves, but that person was nowhere to be found. Chances are, well, the girl, the main character's sweetheart, or Jen, she didn't explore all of the island, but it's possible that the creature had attacked those family members that had the graves, and it was fought off by the person who is now gone. Maybe he saved his family members from getting dragged down to the hole, but they still died anyway, and he got off the island, or maybe he was dragged down to the depths as well. It's very clear that the creature doesn't need to kill and eat its prey inside of the hole, as it devoured Brad in the movie right there on the island. It could be because it just didn't detect the girl at first, or maybe it wanted to keep the food fresh and carry back some down for the rest of its homies. Another question is, why does it seem to waste so much of its damn food? For example, the shark that washed up on shore. I know that was for dramatic effect, but really, dude, like, you just claw through the shark, tear off half of it, and then leave the rest, the really good part, unless it's just like shark tails. Maybe it was eating the shark and it got disturbed, which could explain that. Maybe it's sadistic and just kills things for the sake of killing them. Maybe it wasn't even interested in eating the shark attacked it and it defended itself. We obviously know that this creature does eat shark because the girl used it as a lure and it took it. So it's possible it wasn't hungry at the time, or that's not what it was feeling for. Next question, why is the creature killed so easily or defeated so easily in the end of the movie? Plot armor, right? No, like I said before, the creature is more clumsy on land, and I think that the creature was blinded by all the light. There is, of course, another theory that's very weird, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. But yeah, the creature's already at a disadvantage because it moves better in the water, and it doesn't really have good vision. It possibly has very crappy vision. I don't know why it has the two sets of eyes. I think that maybe its eyes are just sitting on top of its face, the same way we still have somewhat of a tailbone, but we don't have tails. I think it detects motion, but I don't think it sees as well as we do, especially in the dark. At first I thought maybe it could see well in the dark, but I don't think that's the case. I think that's why it mostly uses this echolocation. But here are two other questions. After it got stabbed up a whole bunch, why was it still chasing after the girl? Like, it's so weird. Before, when she stabbed it once, it let her go and it went for the other prey, which was her boyfriend. She stabbed it several times, and instead of, you know, self-preservation, it just keeps coming after her, getting stabbed and shanked. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Also, why does a creature bleed black blood? Well, I'm sure you know by now, if you live on planet Earth, that not every single animal has red blood. And the color of your blood depends on the chemistry of it. The reason why our blood is red is because of a protein called hemoglobin. This is the molecule that binds oxygen and allows your red bloods to carry it through your body and supply it to other cells. And it's red because of the iron at its center. Your blood is always red, by the way. There's some people like, no, your blood is blue. Sometimes, no, it's not. The reason why it's shown in the depictions is because it's to make it easier for people to understand. As for creatures like horseshoe crabs, their blood utilizes a different protein called hemocyanin to bind oxygen. Because that binding process involves an atom of copper, the blood has a blue appearance, unlike ours that has iron. And it looks that way as soon as it's oxygenated. That being said, it has little to no color when it's not. So, there are creatures with green blood and other types of colors depending on what's going on. But then why would a color be black? Well, we know that if you have black blood, that's a sign of the blood being very, very old, or of the blood that's not filtered, from a result of badly functioning liver and kidneys. This is if there's a health issue, but there is actually an animal, maybe a few, but this is the only one I could find, that actually does have what you would call black blood. It's called the peanut worm. Peanut worms are a marine animal with dark purple colored blood, and it can appear as though it is black. it would make sense why the creature from Sweetheart looks as though it has black blood, because it's very dark and that's the only time that the girl sees its blood up close. The purple color of their blood is due to the protein called hemerythrin. I think I pronounced it properly. Hemerythrin? Whatever. This protein is also utilized to help fight infections. It helps the worms regenerate when a part of it is cut off. Hemerythrin plays a vital part in that process, which kind of makes me freaked out because, you know, this girl cut off the thing's head in the end. Does that mean that this thing can grow back its frickin' head? Is that why it threw caution to the wind? Because it knows it can regenerate? That would be kind of freaking creepy. I mean, there's so much more we can learn about this creature. It having different color blood in and of itself is highly intriguing. I mean, from our standpoint, our deoxygenated blood is darker due to the difference in shape of a red blood cell when oxygen binds to hemoglobin in the blood cell, oxygenated, versus when it doesn't bind to it, which is deoxygenated or no oxygen, and that's why our blood would appear to be darker, and that would be bad for us. But what if it's total opposite with this creature? What if this creature is just something else entirely? Those are just the answers off the top of my head that I could think of concerning the monster, the Charlie monster from Sweetheart, because honestly, there's so much mystery surrounding this creature. And that's a good thing. I do love when monster movies do this, because it makes you want to talk about it. Like, it's like we're all finding a new species for the first time, and we're all trying to apply the science and our version of zoological expertise to figure out what the hell this creature is and how it operates. Also, why did the creature just stick around this one island? Is there something else out there in the ocean that it's afraid of, why it only stays by this area? Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.